now you are live. Here we are, B minor.
X Factor in the house. Woo woo.
Let's go. We got Brian McGill joining us today. What's up, Brian?
How's it going? I'm happy to be here.
We're excited to have you. Brian McGill, little backstory, 3-time All-GNAC performer at Alaska. Shot almost 94% from the line. Grew up in Oregon. I recruited Brian to try to come to Southern Oregon. We'll touch on that maybe a little bit.
Brian, what
I tried
happened?
to recruit this guy, and he went D2, a little out of our league when I was at SOU, but I definitely have always admired his game. And now that he's off the floor doing stuff, bounced by Brian, right?
Bounced by Brian, yes, sir.
Bounced by Brian, working with guys. We'll talk a little bit about the Portland Pro-Am today. But you've worked with lots of dudes. I'm seeing NBA guys wearing your swag. You got a great logo, the B by B. I love it. So Brian, stoked you're here today, man.
Man, I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk to you guys and chop it up a little bit for sure. I appreciate that shout out for the logo though. Shout out to Alex Hartman. That is the
Alex Hartman did that.
Alex Hartman,
he does like, I know his shoe. Does he still do shoes?
He's doing a little bit of everything, man. So he's expanded. He runs his own business now, Heartland Creative. But like, he's one of the best, man. Like he does a lot of stuff. He did the Black History Month collection for Adidas this past year. He's done stuff for Ric Flair, Kevin Durant's private media entertainment company, Boardroom. Stuff with Dame all the time. Like Alex is one of the best, man. He was doing me a favor for sure by helping me out with that.
Man, sounds like he's a beast. That's a busy guy. Real creative guy too.
100%. He's creative genius, man.
Creative space, man. He is big time, and he's a Concordia guy.
Concordia alumni, yeah. So you remember Henry Barrera?
Absolutely.
So Henry was a huge mentor for me way back in the day, and still to this day. I probably talked to him just a few days ago, but I used to know Alex back when they started Shoot 360 out there in Beaverton. And I would go there, work out with Henry all the time. I would be at Nike, and Alex was just kind of always around. And then I started doing my thing a little bit with the training, and he just reached out one day and asked if I needed any help with the branding, the logo stuff. I wanted to like start making some merchandise and all that stuff. And it's really just like the quote, man, that we've got rolling across the bottom of the screen, just serving other people, man. So I really appreciate him. There it is.
There it is.
That's the one.
That's the one you were waiting to see. He mentioned it. But talk about a guy, Alex Hartman, Henry Barrera is just a servant, man. That guy is one of the real guys in this world. Is he still at Liberty?
He's at Liberty, yeah. He could be a lot of other places if he wanted to be, but he's just doing his thing at Liberty, changing the game over there.
He's doing big things, man. I've spent time with Henry in Hawaii, and the guy preaches it, but lives it more importantly. The guy talks 100%. About eating healthy and working out, and he's jacked, man. He works 100%. Out and eats healthy. Henry Barrera,
shredded for sure.
Henry is shredded, no doubt. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I do love the humility there, giving the shout out back to Alex. But your brand, you've seen it on, guys. The Portland Pro-Am that jumped back off this summer was a huge success. Talk a little bit about that and some of the guys that you had rocking the brand during that Pro-Am.
For sure, man. So I know the X Factor, not as much of a West Coast guy, but pretty much everyone on the West Coast is aware of the Seattle basketball community and the culture that they have there. It's a very like family-oriented, tight-knit culture. All the guys, even if they're UW alumni, not necessarily from the Seattle area, they're always coming back with their younger guys, mentoring them, helping them out, showing the way in the gym with them in the summers. And honestly, like a lot of other cities, at least in Portland, a lot of the guys from the city of Portland that I work with are, I don't know if envious is the right word, but they want to create that same culture in Portland that's really important to them, which I think is really, really cool. And so that was part of kind of the genesis of the Pro-Am, is just being able to establish and kind of build a culture of basketball in Portland that's more reminiscent of that, kind of looking after our own, coming back when you make it out and providing resources and mentorship and help for the younger players coming up. So that was awesome. It's kind of a building block this last summer for the next few years, so we can build that into something special, kind of reminiscent of the crossover, some of those other more prestigious Pro-Ams that they have in the country right now. But like you said, I think it was a huge success this year. If anyone that participated in the Portland Pro-Am sees this, There's just a quick reminder to them that Team Pritchard, coached, GM'd by yours truly, were able to take home the maybe not the inaugural, but the re-inaugural 2021 Portland Pro-Am Championship. So just a quick reminder for those guys. But it was awesome, man. Mike James was one of the founders that really helped make that happen. He was there almost every weekend playing in those games, giving his time, trying to make everything special. Peyton Pritchard literally flew home from Summer League, had an excused absence with the Celtics, so he could be back for the championship game or championship weekend. Him and Mike got to go head-to-head the last weekend, which was a battle for the ages in Portland. That went a little bit viral on the internet and social media. And then just all in all, there were like a lot of the best players in town competing in that, which was a really beautiful thing to see. And then for me too, it was really fun because I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of really good players from Portland. And for the most part, I was either coaching them or coaching against them every weekend in that. So for us in the gym, like just Monday through Friday, it was always just a lot of trash talking, a lot of jokes, a lot of speculating about the next weekend or what would happen in the playoffs, who's going to play well, who's going to beat who. So it was a blast all summer, man. Definitely successful.
You guys practice during the week?
So we didn't practice a whole lot. My coaching philosophy personally was just roll the ball out, and you guys are the selfish players that know how to play. Let's just go get some wins. Definitely.
But you said they're talking trash during the week?
Like, oh, yeah, 100%.
Just not during practices, just...
Not during practice. So a lot of those guys, like, for example, like Mike James, Andrew Andrews played basketball at the University of Washington, and then he was just with Turk Telecom in Istanbul this past year. Who else? Tyrone White, Cameron Chapman, Aaron Deloney played at Vermont. A lot of different guys that I'm in the weight room with every day that are playing on different Pro-Am teams. And so anytime that they're in there, man, we're just talking trash a little bit because those guys feed off that, as do I. So it was just a lot of jokes, a lot of lighthearted trash talk, and just a lot of fun.
I'll tell you what, man, whenever I hear Peyton Pritchard's name, and I am a big Peyton Pritchard fan, but whenever I hear his name, I get PTSD because we were playing against him in Portland at the PK80 tournament when I was a freshman, which is actually where me and Brant found out about each other.
Okay.
We're playing Oregon, and for some reason, like, there wasn't really too many people that thought we were going to even be close in that game. Yeah. But at the end of the game, we were close, right? And it's like 82-80 or something like that. We miss. They come down the court. Close game. We probably have something like a minute, something like that left, right? Like, we need this stop, and we need a bucket bad, or else we're going to lose. And it's like, oh, man, like, come on, we can beat Oregon. Let's do this. So Peyton Pritchard comes down the court, who's been cooking us the whole game, just destroying us. Yeah. And then he comes up, whatever, they're running their play. All of a sudden gets the ball up top, goes ISO, fakes the drive, pull back, step back three, 85-80. I was like, man. And I remember that's one of the most memorable shots, for me, because that was like just a dagger. Probably one of the worst daggers I probably ever got hit with in my life. Man. Not me. I wasn't guarding them. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was on the bench. But for to see from one of my teammates, that was tough.
Yeah, it's tough, man. P is a no fear of failure and just one of the most intense competitors I've personally ever met. Just always going at people's necks with zero fear of failure or missing or you name it, really. That doesn't surprise me, honestly.
But who wins?
I'm sorry you had to go through that, though, man.
But who wins in a free throw contest, though? Because you shot 94% from the free throw line.
I'm beating him in a free throw contest, 100%. 100%.
What is the? Because I'm obsessed, and I always have been, with the psychology of free throw shooting. Because I feel like it's astronomically amount mental. Like, that is a huge mental thing. So what goes into that? What goes into you shooting 94% on a season?
Man, so to be honest, I just kind of caught a groove, and then I could sit here and say like I got all the tricks and then everything figured out, and I'm just that elite that I was able to do that. I really just found a rhythm and a groove, and when you start making shots, obviously your confidence is going to grow. The more you knock down, it's going to grow exponentially. So at that point, I just wasn't missing shots. Like, I had a couple of games that helped with that. Like, I think I had a streak over like a week and a half or so where I made 40, 41 consecutive shots. Like, we had a couple of OT games. Like, I went 15 for 15 in a game from the line, 16 for 16 in a game from the line. And both of those were like OT games. So I'm getting like intentional fouls and whatnot, like at the end of the game and overtime. So that definitely helped kind of bump the numbers a little bit. But man, really just finding a groove. And then it was something I built into over my career. Like, you have to find comfort at the line for sure and be comfortable there, be able to quiet the noise, drown everything out. And Yeah, that's honestly one that I think practice and repetition reign supreme, but the ability to calm your mind and kind of block out everything else is extremely helpful in that regard.
The other teams probably hated seeing you with the ball at the end of the game. It's like,
Yeah.
I
It
keep
w
fouling this guy. He
yeah.
won't give us a chance. He
It
keeps
was
making all
one
the free throws.
the other coaches too, that would get a little bit funny. They're yelling at their players for fouling me, like, "You gotta get it out of his hands, keep it out of his hands. He's not gonna miss." So just to catch the ball and see the look of, just despair in the coach's face when they saw that I'm the guy that they ended up fouling is pretty rewarding for sure. I can't lie to you on that one.
94%. That's incredible, man. That means on the season you're missing like, I mean, you're remembering your free throw misses almost like
Yeah, and I remember
just
that season too,
single-handed.
I started, like, 3 for 6 or something like that from the line that year and missed less than 10 shots, probably closer to, like, 6 or 8, so yeah, if you take out, like, that first couple weeks, I'm probably shooting, like, 78, 79%, or excuse me, 97, 98%.
97, 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's incredible. But I love that you said it bumped my numbers a little bit that the games were in overtime. You think, I mean, I'm thinking if you're bumping your numbers, that means you're shooting free throws when you're up 40. Bumping
No.
your numbers, that shows clutchness,
Yeah,
Brian. That
yeah,
shows that
I
you have
appreciate that.
moxie.
I appreciate that. No, 100%. I'll give myself a little credit. I had a little bit of ice water in the veins that year, and just it was my senior year, senior leader. Like, they need me to knock down shots. I'm the point guard. That's what I'm there to do. Got to get it done, man.
All GNAC. Started at Western Oregon, if I
Yes,
remember
sir.
correctly.
Yeah.
And what was the decision to go from one GNAC school? I mean, don't have to get too specific,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
going from Monmouth, Oregon to Anchorage, how was that transition?
It was good. There, just for a multitude of factors, I was almost at a place at Western Oregon for both on the court and off the court reasons, where I was kind of almost falling out of love with the game of basketball. And for me, I'm gonna be either all in with something or all out with something. And if I, and then also too, like, I'm needing to be at, like, I'm trying to reach the limit of my potential. So if I'm not in love with being in the gym after practice, if I'm not in love with the extra work, then I'm not going to reach my potential. And there's not a lot of incentive for me personally, at least, to want to do that. So when I started to feel myself falling out of love with the work in the game, I knew that I had to make a switch, or I was never going to reach my potential in basketball. So I ultimately just decided to make that switch. There were a lot of Oregon guys, though, at the time that were playing for UAA. So there was one of my old AAU teammates, Michael McKelvey, that's from out here in Oregon, was going there. There was a guy from Jesuit named Colin Spickerman playing there. A guy from, like, Central Oregon named John Erickson. There were a couple more I'm probably blanking on right now, and there were a couple coaches from Oregon as well too. So we had a big Oregon connection, a big Northwest connection, a lot of Seattle guys, and then too in the GNAC schedule, like every other weekend throughout the entire basketball season, you're in the Northwest. So you're in Oregon, Washington, Idaho. So it's not like I was in Alaska the whole time. And then Division II, they don't require us to be there for summer school because they're not allowed to pay for our summer school. So I was home for like 3.5, 4 months out of every summer. So that made that transition a little bit better for sure. And then University of Alaska Anchorage, when I was getting there, we probably, I think as of right now, Cal Baptist went Division I, Grand Canyon went Division I. So we have the best facilities in the entire country
For
for
sure.
Division II athletics. And then I believe it's even a top 50 facility nationally, including all high majors. That was in a magazine, so not my personal claim, but I know our facilities there are literally like world class. So
Real nice.
that was awesome. We're the only show in town. There's a minor league hockey team, kind of correlates probably to the same levels like the Winterhawks out here in Portland. I apologize, X Factor. I'm dropping all these Northwest Oregon references you might not be picking
No,
up.
I'm
Uh,
learning. I'm learning. I
but
like it.
but besides that, basketball was really like the main show in town. So we had great fan support, great community support, and it was a great experience overall. They let me play my game too, which was amazing.
And I know I'm a fair weather guy up in Alaska. I go up in the summers and just
Yep,
pull huge salmon out of the
yep,
Kenai. And I love Alaska in the summer. The state fair is epic up there in
yeah, yeah.
Palmer, out in the valley. I love the experience I've had in Alaska, but they have a couple Northwest kids right now, Hunter Sweet
Yeah,
and Caleb Larson.
yeah. So Caleb Larson actually was working out with me at the gym all summer. So I got to know
Nice.
Caleb pretty well over this past year, which is really cool. Hunter
Good
came in a
kid.
couple times just with Caleb. So I've met him as well too, but it's definitely good to see the Northwest still represented up there. They have Darius Ginn, who was at a junior college in Wyoming as well. If you remember Jordan Rayleigh, that's his little brother. Jordan played at Iowa State and
I
Washington
remember
State.
Jordan.
So
He's
we
not.
got quite.
Darius is more of a guard than his brother,
Darius
right?
is still 6'6", 6'7" ish, but Jordan was like 6'11". So in comparison, he's a little bit smaller. Definitely more like a stretch four, like a big wing that can shoot the ball. But it's definitely good to see Oregon guys still represented up in Alaska for sure. I'm looking forward to being able to hopefully catch a couple of their games when they come play like Concordia in Western Oregon this year.
No Concordia this year, I bet.
Oh, no Concordia. You are right. You are right. Rest in peace to Concordia. That is tragic.
Concordia is no longer a university here in
Man,
Portland.
you
So
What happened
hate
to
to
them?
hear it. You hate to hear it.
this is pre-COVID, like
Yeah.
or January of COVID year, they announced that the school was not going to be a school anymore. And so they were able to, some kids got in at Pacific where I coached, some kids they moved them around, but the school itself
Yeah. Yeah,
folded.
Caleb Larson, for example, went to UAA after Concordia closed down.
And Hunter Sweet was
Hunter
there
Sweet
also.
as well? Okay.
Yeah, that's how those kids got to know each other, was at Concordia. And when Concordia closed, I hit those two up right away.
Yeah.
I need you.
Same
Come here.
story that ended up with my recruitment of Brian McGill. But hey, you get shot down sometimes, but I figured if I don't shoot my shot,
You're not going to score.
I wouldn't have had a
Yeah.
chance. And I'm not
Shoot
saying
or
I had a
shoot.
good chance anyway, because Hunter Sweet was all GNAC at Concordia. But I at least had to put my name out there and let them know that they had a place here in the Portland area if they wanted it.
100%, man. Shoot or shoot. You can never apologize for that. And those guys obviously appreciate and respect that.
For sure.
In any aspect of life,
100%,
always shoot your shot.
100%.
Oh, you got to shoot your shot.
Always.
And I remember driving to Clackamas High School. 2000. What years? I think you were
11,
a senior in high school.
2011.
2011. Maybe it was 2010.
Yeah, one of those.
Maybe one of those times. I picked this guy up from school. I can't remember where we went to eat.
Subway, probably. Maybe like just a sandwich shop down the road.
Some sandwich shop around Clackamas. But I took this guy out, gave him the pitch, and then he ends up going to Western Oregon.
Man,
but
I didn't want to sit on the bench behind Jeff Bush, man. JB was a problem there.
That's real.
Between Tedder and JB, forget that.
Not saying that's real. You would have played with those guys, and we would have won a natty. But
yeah,
but we did have some really good guards for sure.
Hey,
those kids were awesome.
That's tough, man. Because what I've noticed, especially about Division III coaches in particular, are the better you are at recruiting, the harder you make the job on yourself. So guys will vibe with an assistant coach at a D3, the one recruiting them specifically, and they might start to have offers come in or have opportunities to have their school paid for, but because they like that coach so much, they just extend their recruitment probably longer than they need to because they don't want to tell you or whoever the coach is no, because of that bond that they formed, the relationship. And honestly, man, it's a compliment. It's a blessing and a curse, right? If you're good at your job, it's going to make it a little bit harder on you because the guys don't want to tell you no quickly.
And I try to tell, I'm happy if a guy's going to get their school paid for, like, I get it, but like Nick Drinan was freshman of the year in our conference, one of my first recruits at Pacific. He could have gone to Portland State and walked on. Idaho State wanted him to walk on. But I said, hey, do you want to be a guy or the guy? And he's a competitor, right? Like, he wants to have the ball in his hands late in the game. Averaged almost 20 a game for us as a freshman. But he's the type of kid, after the season, I was like, Nick, you had a great year, but you got to get better. You got to get better with your right. You got to get tougher. Because he's like 6'1", 160 maybe. And because I was like, I'm going to go find better players, right? Like, you were the guy as a freshman, but I'm going to go try to get better players than you. And he's a competitor, kind of like you. So he kind of laughs like, good luck finding. I'm like, I'm going to find 4 dudes. But Nick's like, go find 5 and I'll come in off the bench. And we're going to be really good if you get 5 guys better than me. And I do love recruiting D3. It is tough because you do build those relationships, especially with kids early on that maybe are above our level. And I just tell him, hey, like, I want to know, like, don't let me find out on social media, especially if I'm spending my time, my money recruiting kids. Like,
Yeah.
at least send me a text or preferably give me a call, especially if we've had Zoom calls. And just it's hard to hear about it flipping through Twitter that a kid's committed somewhere else.
For
But
sure, man. It's like breaking up with a girlfriend almost. Like, it's just painful to do it. You just dread the conversation.
it's
So then you
hard.
post
It
it on
is
social
hard.
media.
Yeah,
Then you post it on social
100%.
media, and it makes it 1,000 times worse.
With your new girl.
Right? Found somebody
Sometimes two.
else.
Sometimes
Oh,
two.
shit.
Cuff season. Is that what they say these days? Is that something?
Yeah, cuffing season is coming up, actually. Cuffing season is the
Yeah.
winter. The colder months out of the year happen to be
Okay.
cuffing season.
That's when you
Prom-
pick up somebody that you kind of trying to maybe wouldn't
keep
be
you warm
with
at
in the
night.
summer.
Yeah, then you would cuff. That would be when you cuff a beautiful female. You know, you make her yours, and then cuffing
You
season.
ride through the winter with one because you're not up summer nights on the boat chasing more, right?
That is the way that
Probably,
some people operate.
It's probably free agency for that right now.
It is kind of time. I've seen people post stuff
training camp
about
starting soon.
trying to find a spot. Cuffing applications. I don't know if you take applications. I'm married. I got a ring on it,
Yeah.
right?
What about you, X Factor?
I'm single, and I would be
Yeah.
thoroughly impressed if somebody sent a formal application for cuffing season. I
I'll
would
pick it
definitely
up.
review it.
I'll definitely review it as well. If anyone out there wants to send me an application at Bounce by Brian on Instagram, I got a big heart.
He's got big muscles, but a big heart and a killer brand. And I mean, obviously, we're hyping him up, but it's all deserving, man. You've really built something and you're continuing to build. I love what you're giving back. I remember the Pro-Am back. I went to UP early 2000s and Kanan. And I mean, just seeing those guys, Pooh Jetter, who's killing it down in LA.
Yeah.
He puts on for the city down there, but he's also a Portland Pilot grad and just, he's played in the TBT this year, but he's just doing good things. But I love seeing Peyton. I love seeing the Celtic/Portland staff.
Yeah.
Is there 5 guys? Is that right?
Man, I'm gonna
I
forget
think I think you got obviously the head coach, Damon, Ben Sullivan. You got Steven played at St. Mary's, I think. Not Steven Jackson.
Not Steven. Oh, Garrett Jackson.
Garrett Jackson, I think, is on staff. And I think there's one more.
Yeah, there is. I'm blanking on who it is, though. I knew this was going to happen. I think you are right, though. I think there's 5. And then
I think there is
Danny,
5.
Danny Ainge, the GM, is an Oregon guy.
He
Correct,
went to North Eugene High.
Yeah.
Oregon taking over the Celtics. How about that? I know that makes you guys happy.
Because they got Peyton Pritchard as their point guard, too, and they traded out Kemba, right?
Yeah, Kemba's gone. They did sign Dennis Schroeder, but
Peyton Pritchard. Take Peyton Pritchard.
I mean, and Peyton's only 1 year into the NBA and has already had a lot of success his rookie year. And before he even got drafted, you could have told me that in 3 years from now, Peyton's played every single game in the G League and hasn't touched the court once in the NBA. And I would still bet my life savings that he's going to figure it out and find a way to be an NBA player. And the amount of success he's already had, like, this guy is a worker on the court, off the court. Like, for him to understand the speed of the game, what translates for him, what doesn't translate for him, the areas he needs to improve in, like, his ceiling is pretty high. And I think it's a lot higher than most people realize, especially with the way the game's changing now. Stay tuned, man. He's going to have a special career. I truly believe that. And to be fair, like, anytime you ask me about any player that I work with or know personally, I'm extremely biased and I'm aware of that, but that's as objective as I can be. He's going to have a special career.
You know what else was really, really high now that you brought up his name? The contract offer that Dennis Schroeder got before he declined it.
He passed on.
And then got significantly less.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Like, thankfully, those numbers are still in the 7 figures for him, maybe even 8 figures. So
he'll be all right.
At the end of the day, he'll be okay, but you gotta
He
You got to
missed.
feel for him, man. Especially when you're betting on yourself, doubling down on yourself. That's always a rough one. But man, the NBA is all business. So at the end, it is what it is.
Aaron Miles.
Oh, is he on the Celtic staff as well? Okay.
Aaron Miles,
Okay.
former Warriors G League head coach, Kansas alum.
Yeah.
Played at Kansas, played at Jefferson with Aaron Miles and Michael Lee.
I was going to say you'll probably see Michael Lee on that staff sooner than later, too.
Michael Lee, those guys, we played them my junior year at the state tournament. We played Aaron and Michael, and they waxed us. But in my senior year, we beat Brandon Lincoln, Curtis Lincoln. Grants Pass came up and knocked off Jefferson in the first round of the state tournament.
Man, anytime you knock Jeff off in Oregon high school basketball, that's something to be celebrated. They
used to seed the state tournament, X. They seeded at 1 to 16. We were seeded 14th. Jefferson was seeded 3rd. They thought they should have been the number 1 seed. We ended up coming in. We beat them by 18.
Let's go. My goodness.
Waxed them. We were going to kind of do this like pass stall almost, like just try to pull them. And they started gambling. We just back cut them, layup drill. They started getting frustrated, teed up.
Play?
Brandon Lincoln, Marshall Haskins was the coach.
How did you play?
I was player of the game. I mean, I didn't want to say that, but like I had like 17 and
talk your
yeah, come on, no, you deserve it.
Man.
I mean,
you did it. You did it.
High school memory, right? Like
100%.
I could.
And we didn't really. Go ahead.
Top 3, Gonzaga. I played when we beat Gonzaga, Brian. Like that's rare.
I remember your Adam Morrison story.
That was a good. That guy. I mean, so I checked him the game. 30 seconds left in the first half, and I'm guarding him, and he's bigger and honestly better at basketball than I ever was. Right? He averaged like 29 a game his senior year. Whatever.
Debatable.
He looks at me and says, "What the are you doing in the game, you little bitch? You weren't on my scouting report."
I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. I used that. I didn't say that specifically, but in college, I had a couple of guys that would pop off at the mouth at me. And I don't know, I'm not really a trash talker. Like off the court a little bit. It's easier when I'm just sitting on the sideline coaching. I don't have to actually go back anything up. But some guys would talk a little bit of trash to me, and I was just like, look at them like, I don't respond to people that aren't even on my scouting report, man. Like,
who are you?
Who are you?
He tried to walk me down to the post. I shoved him. I got a steal and an assist and didn't play the rest of the game. But a steal and an assist in 30 seconds, you factor that out over a 40-minute productivity.
In 30 seconds? That's well over a 2020 game.
Oh, my gosh. Like my stats, if you factored out my stats, my freshman and sophomore year combined, this is D1 basketball. Per 40 minutes, I averaged 17 points, 16 rebounds, 14 assists, and 0 turnovers and 17 fouls. But
17 fouls?
Well, one game I got in for 3 minutes and had 4 fouls, so like
it happens.
Also, my first game I played at Portland, I had 7 rebounds in 5 minutes, took a charge, had a steal and an assist. My name got in the post-game write-up. Freshman walk-on guard Brant Miner in his 5 highly productive minutes. I've read it a few times, obviously.
Verbatim.
That's exactly what the article says. But I had a great experience, and for me, I knew I wanted to be a coach and to get the opportunity to walk on Division I at a great university where I met some of my best friends, some of my best connections that I still have. Like I loved my experience, but there was other smaller schools I probably could have played more.
Yeah.
But for me, I loved my experience. I was close to Portland, but I wasn't in Portland. I interned with the Blazers my junior year. So like I had a lot of cool opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I would have gone to school in LeGrand.
100%, man. That's what I tell kids all the time too. Like, especially if you knew that you wanted to be a coach coming out of college, the networking opportunities are everything. If you want to go play professionally in Europe, like, probably go to a school where you're going to be able to grow as a player, play your game, get on film, show people what you can do, be able to play a lot of minutes, get some time on the court and grow. But then if you want to go network or do whatever it may be after that, find the spot that's right for you.
Right.
100%. That's beautiful to hear. Because you see a lot of people not really choosing the right fit for them as a player or with their post college goals. So that's beautiful
Right.
information. If that's something that you want to do, if you want to be involved in basketball, but maybe not as a player, walking on is probably the right strategy for you. Like, go be a walk on, then be a GA, and then network your way into your job, and then just grind your face off till you get where you want to be. And then vice versa. Maybe if you're a less touted high school player, go to a smaller school, go to the level that you fit in and can be a star at and play well at, and it's going to be a lot better for you if those are your goals post college. That's beautiful advice for sure.
Great advice right there. X Factor is a 5'8" D1 letterman at DePaul, and now he's a financial planner, business owner, business guy. But he's working on that. He's working on getting that financial residual. I seek passive residual income.
Incredibly important.
That's incredibly important because I don't want to trade my time for money because I only have so much time, right? Like I don't want to have to show up every day to get paid. And so I'm working on finding ways where residually, without me having to put in the time, real estate is a great one because you collect the rent check. If the rent's more than the mortgage, you're positive cash flowing every month. And the way the market's going, you're going to get equity, but that's passive, residual. Trading your time for money is very risky because if you don't show up to work one day or, so that's why I love that you're creating a brand too. And I know, or I don't know, but I bet you're training others and working on building a little, because right now, like Bounced by Brian is if you're not there, but if it's Bounced by Brian's people that have been working directly with you, that's how you can scale this a little bit, I think.
Oh, 100%. So, yeah, a great point, man. Time is the only non-renewable asset on Earth. It is the only thing that we cannot make more of or create more of.
Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin ever. Sorry, sidetrack.
Bitcoin too.
Everything else is renewable besides time.
100%.
And Bitcoin.
So the beautiful thing, especially about owning your own business and being able to have the freedom to explore different ancillary revenue streams, is just that I have the freedom to try new things and fail. I did a little Booty by Brian online glute building program during quarantine where people were stuck at home. Kind of use it as a vehicle or a beta test to try some of the online training stuff because that's something I knew I'd probably want to revert back to with an athletic performance-based approach with that. And then too, there's man, I wish I could share more right now, but there's a lot of exciting stuff in the works for sure with me and some of the players that I work with that we're looking forward to introducing to the Portland community, hopefully around next summer. So we definitely have a lot of stuff in the works for that specifically because I'm right there with you, man. Like I absolutely love what I do, but I don't want to be 45, 50 years old in the weight room teaching high school kids how to squat. That's just not what I want to be doing at that point. So the ability to kind of evolve and grow in what I do specifically in my job title is something that I'm constantly working on and always thinking about. Actually, I have a client, Andrew Andrews, who another Portland kid, played basketball at the University of Washington. He's been playing in top leagues around the world. He was just with the Euro Cup team, which is the level right below EuroLeague, which would be the best league outside of the NBA in the world. Definitely a EuroLeague player. If he held out a little bit longer last summer, he would have been this year. But he actually changed our workout time from 7 a.m. to 7:30 last summer, so we could spend 30 minutes on the stock exchange when it opened at 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 here. So it's definitely really cool to be around some of those guys that are really doing the right things financially and setting themselves up for success in the future. Like, not to share too much of his business, but he's looking at purchasing different kinds of assets in real estate, extremely tuned in with the stock market, probably day trades a little bit too much for his own good. Like he realizes that maybe he should probably chill out a little bit because he's just over there in Turkey, Israel, wherever he is, day trading, sipping wine on the couch in his row. But
I can really picture Andrew Andrews doing that.
Just
phenomenal
back,
name,
man, just on the laptop.
He's got a great name, and He's related to, is it Ty Cleveland?
Yes, Ty Cleveland's cousin, for sure. For sure. And then it's really cool, man. Like you bring up all that stuff. I don't know if you guys have talked about this a lot on your podcast, but another really exciting avenue that we're kind of venturing into now down here are the NIL rules, or NLI. I can't remember what acronym it is,
It's
but
the same thing. It doesn't matter.
same
It
thing.
can be
Doesn't
image,
matter.
name, likeness. It could be INL
100%,
even.
100%. But it's just the opportunity for kids now to be able to monetize their name and likeness as much as possible, depending on state legislation, all the way down at the high school level sometime, whether that be like sports camps that they're running or just building their brand through social media or merchandise sales. Or there's honestly so many different streams of revenue that are accessible to them through those vehicles that it's a really cool thing. And there's some people down here that I work with a little bit that are really exploring that for players of all levels. So obviously,
Right.
like a kid I train, his name is Ben Gregg, that plays at Gonzaga, one of the top teams in the country. Probably his opportunity, and he actually just signed with PSD, the underwear company, which is absolutely hilarious to me. But good for him, good for PSD. His opportunities to monetize his name are probably going to look a little bit different than mine would in college, or yours would in college, or a Pacific players you coach would in college. But there are definitely areas that everyone can take care of that and find the ways that they can do that where they're at. So I think that's really, really cool, man. And it's really cool. I think it's a positive experience too, with athletes being able to do this, to just encourage them to be more financially literate and more
You
aware of
have
all
to.
things at a young age. I think that's something extremely important. So that's really cool, man.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. X Factor. I don't know if you've heard this. BYU, their walk-ons on their football team signed an NIL deal where now they're getting full rides.
Really good. I like that.
There's a shoot. I
Build
need to.
bar.
It's like a what
Build
type of bar?
bars. It's like a I believe it's
Like a protein
Yep.
bar is now paying books, tuition, fees, and housing for every BYU football walk-on. Like, doesn't that just change the game? Now BYU is basically able to go get 20 to 30 more kids on scholarship, pretty much.
That's
Crazy.
huge. I'm so happy to hear that too. Things are definitely going in the right direction with that. If things like that are happening,
for sure, 100%.
But you can't rep Dutch Bros if you go to BYU.
Fine. You can pay for my books. You can pay for my school. I will not. I don't even know who Dutch Bros is.
Coffee.
Is that just
caffeine?
Caffeine with the
Mormon, the LDS.
Yeah, they have a I forget the name of the pledge, but they all take a. They make an agreement not to participate in all that stuff when they get to campus.
Yep, and that's why one of their football players,
might be the
basketball players, got in trouble for breaking the honor code or
Brandon Davies,
code.
I believe Jimmer Fredette's teammate back in the day.
That's right. Yeah, I got in trouble because he got his girlfriend pregnant. I think
started a family and it wasn't possible under the honor code restrictions at the time.
Let's not get into too much about organized religion because this could go a lot of ways. But I love that the walk-ons are being sponsored. I think there's ways that I love that you're exploring that, the name, image, and likeness. I got a small check from Ed O'Bannon's settlement for the 2003-2004 NCAA March Madness. Number 3 from the University of Portland at 6'3", 155. A rating of like 67, skinny little white guy. So they gave me a little check, not as much as Ed O'Bannon got, but gave me a little check for using my name or my image and my likeness on the video game. Right, not bad. Not full ride BYU status, but a little thank you for letting us use your image on the video game. But X, do you have anything? Because we'll touch on Brian's quote again, just because I love it. I think it's, the one that I was kind of thinking of is, bring your best when your best is required. Your best is required every day. Hard work's the price of paying rent, and rent's due every day. This is the one that Brian brought with us. You want to read that, Brian?
Yes, man. I got another one for you before we get out of here.
Love it.
Excuse me. I'm a little congested. We had to make sure that there was no COVID yesterday, so I'm all good to go. But long weekend in Bend, actually.
I love Bend, Oregon, though, man.
It's one of excuse me, we were talking about Peyton Pritchard, and that's one of his favorite spots in the summer to go relax is in Bend. So we went up to Bend last weekend and probably had a few too many glasses of wine and didn't sleep enough and paying the price the last couple days. But man, the Muhammad Ali quote, "Service to others is the rent that we all pay for our room here on earth." And honestly, man, like I took some leadership courses in college, and that's what my leadership style really is servant leadership. Talk about organized religion. Jesus is probably the greatest servant leader of all time. But that's really it, man. Like I had people like we talked about Henry Barrera, different coaches in my past that just poured into me with no expectation of anything in return other than paying it forward for the next generation. And that's really what I live by and what I'm here to do is just serve other people, serve the world as best I can. And honestly, man, when I made the shift from investing in myself as a player to investing in other players as a coach or trainer, it's the most gratifying experience I've ever had. Some of the most fun I've ever had enjoying their wins and their successes and being with them as a supporting role on their journeys has been, for at least me personally, far away to any joy that I got from my own career. But that's really what I'm here to do, man. One candle does not dim its light by letting another candle in. The same way that people served me, did everything they could for me when I was coming up, I owe it to them. I owe it to the game. I owe it to the world to do the same thing for other people. So that's really what I live by, man, and what I'm here to do. And then I got one more quote for you on the way out. But
you dropped one right there. One candle loses nothing.
That's another good one too, man. Like everyone's worried about everyone else shining and taking away from their personal glory or whatever, their success or whatever. But one candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. If a candle lights another candle, that candle's flame is going to stay just the same. But now there's two candles with equally bright flames, and neither one loses a thing.
That's huge. I love that.
Appreciate you. I love that too.
You said you had one more, and then I interrupted you. What did you still got?
Oh, you ready for it now?
I'm ready if you got it.
Man, so this is, we talk about life philosophy quote number 1, service to others. Number 2, especially for the high school kids I work with. This was an ancient Japanese samurai named Miyamoto Musashi. And he said, know the way broadly and you will see it in everything. And to me, what that means is if you know the way in one specific thing. So for example, in basketball, or let's take the weight room, for example, because this is really what I believe the biggest asset, what I do for high school kids especially is. If we understand that hard work is going to give us success, or at least a chance at success, then we'll understand that if we want to go into financial planning or open our own business or whatever that avenue or that area may be, that recipe is going to stay the exact same way. So for a high school kid, there's not a lot of better tangible examples of hard work than picking up a weight that's heavy and seeing yourself jump higher, run faster, look better in the mirror. It's easier the next time you pick it up, etc. That's a very tangible, digestible way for kids to learn that hard work pays off. But the same way, when I get done with my college career, if I want to go do whatever that may be, the same recipe is going to work for me in the same way. If I continue to put the prerequisite work in, I'm going to continue to have success. So the way I learn is the work ethic I learn in sport or in the weight room or whatever that may be can be applied anywhere, man. If you know the way broadly, you'll see it in everything that you do. And to me, that's really it. That's the secret of life. There is no secret. It's just grinding your face off until you get a lucky break and you're prepared for it.
The secret to life is there's no secret.
I guess that's another quote, probably.
I mean,
you dropped like 4 quotes, and they were all fire. Within one quote.
The quote goat.
I love quotes too. I got a whole journal and notebook and Excel document. We can throw quotes back and forth. X, you got something here today? What do you show me the money? Show me what you're working with.
I got one from quite literally a genius, the late great Albert Einstein. He said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving forward. Boom.
Fall over. If you're not moving forward, you're falling over.
You have to keep going, right? You have to keep moving. It's like a shark.
100%.
What happens if a shark stops moving? Everybody knows what happens to a shark. He can't. He's going to die.
It won't happen.
So keep going, keep moving forward. And the farther you move forward, the more that you'll be happy with the results. Like,
100%.
I think it's very easy to say, like, I want to accomplish this. I want to do this. Like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, I want to do this. I want to be a billionaire. I want to have 50 buildings. You know what I mean? Okay, that's cool. Awesome. Nice. How? Move forward, move forward, move forward. If you don't, you're going to sink. So keep swimming.
Man, you guys got to cut me off, man. I'm going to keep talking about that stuff all day.
Every flood starts with a raindrop. Every flood starts with a single raindrop. Boom.
100%.
Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks on the daily.
So if you want to take it to the far extremes, the journey is the destination. And I didn't just smoke a joint or anything like that. But the ultimate destination that we're all going to get to in our lifetime is death. So just by definition of that, the journey is all that there really is, man. And I'm lucky enough to be around a lot of successful people. I don't think any of them would say that they've made it or they've arrived at their destination or whatever that may be. But even when looking back at their journey to the point they're at now, that really is the most special time. Like the times where you have anxiety, you're not sure how things are going to work out. You can't sleep because you're nervous about your tryout or your training camp or practice the next day or whatever. All those times that they look back on that they didn't enjoy as much in the moment are their fondest memories and the things that they look back on the most fondly, not to be redundant. But yeah, man, 100%. Just continue moving forward. The journey really is what life's all about. And yeah, love that, man. We're dropping some fire on the quotes. Don't get us started on the movie quotes, though. That's probably bad news.
If you
The people got a good show today. The people got a great show.
If you feel like you're stumbling, because sometimes people feel like they're at the pinnacle, and then all of a sudden you're not playing anymore, or you don't feel. Even Bitcoin has dropped, right? Like buy the dip, right, Pont?
I bought the dip.
I bought the dip too, and I'm feeling the benefits now. So buy the dip. But no, there was so much knowledge in there. I love that you had the opportunity to work with Alex, and we're throwing out names: Henry Barrera and Andrew Andrews. But reach the limit of your potential. That's a quote that I pulled out from you, Brian. Not my potential, not X Factor's potential, but you got to do everybody's potential is different. Even if it's close, Ben Greggs is different than Peyton Pritchard's, is different than Andrew Andrews, which is different than Mike. Everybody's is different. So reach for your potential. Don't try to compare yourself to others. Your only true competition is when you look in the mirror. Let's go.
100%. So if you go to www.bouncedbybrian.com, the first thing shameless plug, the first thing that comes up is a picture of me, but on top of it is the word self-actualization and the definition of that. And reading it live here is the realization or fulfillment of one's talents and potentialities, especially considered as a drive or need present in everyone. And then I got another quote for you too. Is I'm blanking on this guy's name. He's like a European psychologist, but he said, "What man really needs is not a tensionless state, but a struggling and a striving towards a worthy chosen goal." And I really think that's true. Like if you don't have something that you're passionate about and that you're pursuing on a daily basis, and a drive or a need to self-actualize or reach your potential or reach that goal, then you're ultimately not going to be happy. It doesn't really matter how great your life is. If you don't have something that you're pursuing or attacking, you're not going to be at peace in life. And so that's why I'm extremely happy. Like people could look at my life and say, hey, maybe it's not up to my standards, but inherently I'm an extremely happy, fulfilled person, not satisfied, but fulfilled, because there's stuff that I'm chasing and working towards every single day. And that's what I think really rings especially true to me about that is not only is it the realization of your potential, but it's a drive or a need that's present in every human being. So 100%, man, if you want to live a fulfilled life, try to do the best that you can. Have a worthy goal that you're struggling or striving to achieve, and you're going to find a lot more peace in life on the pursuit of that than you would any other way. I'll stop now. That's a lot of quotes.
I'm just soaking it all in. I mean, I love, because I've thought about that, like satisfied versus always striving for more, right? Like, how do you balance that? And I love the word fulfilled, because like for me, people are always like, oh, are you striving to be a head coach? No, I'm not. And I know that's like not what most assistants say, but for me, I'm blessed with what I love to do. I'm happy. I mean, there's something, don't argue with happy. My dad taught me that. You know, the happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. Make the most of that which comes and the least of that which goes. And you will never know happiness if you are always wanting a bigger, a newer, a faster, but you don't want to lose that motivation. So I wrote down fulfilled, but not satisfied, because you always want to keep striving and trying to get to that next goal. If you feel like you've arrived, you're going to fall over, right? And the journey is the reward. It's like a cruise to Hawaii. And instead of being above surface or above deck and looking at all the beautiful ocean around you, you're underneath waiting to get to the destination. But the destination in this life is death. So enjoy the journey, because the rewards will take care of themselves. And I'll say that one again because my dad loved to say it. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. Boom.
Fire. Yeah, I love it.
Got to give a shout out, Steve Miner, my dad, the greatest dad in the world. My graduation present from high school, he gave me a deck of cards, Brian. And on every card, it was actually, when you open the deck, every card was an ace. And every card had a quote on the top and bottom of it. And the first one said, "The ace is the best card in the deck. You're the best son a dad could wish for. A father's love is not a sometimes thing, some country song." And then on every quote card was a quote. And Pont and I love the one about never wrestle with a pig because you'll both get dirty, but the pig will love it. Right? Like every card, all these quotes that I'm pulling up, sometimes when it's something that I have with me 20 years later, but I never will forget or lose that deck of cards. It's in my safe, which I'm not telling you guys where it's at because you might be watching this on replay. But that's a pretty special gift. So Steve Miner, one of the toughest men I know, but also one of the best dads I know as far as raising me to be who I am, and, you know, happy with what I have. And so many of those life lessons that I've learned that I'm now passing on to others. You don't split the firewood when you're cold.
Yeah.
You don't get fat the day you eat the cake. You don't get skinny the day you don't eat.
Yep.
You don't get abs the day you do the crunches, right?
Yep.
Like you don't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed.
Yeah.
So many of those.
100%, man. Shout out to Steve.
Steve
Shout
Miner.
out, Steve.
Steve, if you're watching this, he watches some of these back, so he might be watching. Love you, Dad. I love you, Dad. Wedding Crasher. Old school. I haven't seen Frank's dad.
I'm mostly stuck on all the blue quotes from old school.
True love is hard to find. You think you found it, then you catch the early flight home from San Diego, and two blindfolded people jump out of your bathroom like a magic show, ready to. Okay, that's where it stops. I think what Mitch is trying to say is true love is blind. With that, we're going to wrap this up. It was real. It was fun. It was real fun. I don't know if we did it on the last episode, X.
We didn't.
I think we just got so wrapped up, but we end our shows this way, Brian. We say that if you're going to walk on.
Get it? Because we're walk-ons.
We're walk-ons. Yeah.
But
I love it, man.
All right. Any last parting shots? Because we're still recording. Either one of you guys.
Shots, man. Not a whole lot. I appreciate you guys. It was fun to sit down.
Give us your Instagram handle one more time for the cuffing application.
I will do that.
The cuffing apps.
It is at Bounce by Brian. BOUNCEBYBRIAN on Instagram. Come connect with me. Shoot me a message if you're in the Portland area interested in training or online or distance options as well. Stay tuned because we're going to change the culture of Portland basketball, and I can't wait to do it.
Love it.
Need at least 5 by the end of tonight in his inbox. At least 5.
That'll be
Let's
phenomenal.
do it.
That'll be phenomenal.
Hey, Coach Brian, I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but I'm still doing a spin around or a 360. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the video when we get off.
Yeah.
It's a little pre-rotation, okay? It's probably more, okay, I'll give it like a 290. It's not a 180. I'm not putting it behind my head. I'm getting almost all the way, but I'm 38. So
Yeah.
bounced by Brian because Brant
You can
had
say
no
bounced by
bounce.
Brant. You can. I'll give
No,
you
I'm not.
permission
I'm
for
not
that.
trying to replicate anything,
We
man.
won't cease and desist you on that one.
Yeah, shout out. This guy ripped it off. I'll have the same logo, everything. Just bounced by Brant. Just knock off everything you're about. No, I love what you're about, Brian McGill. I love that you're building the culture here in Portland. I want to be a part of it. I want to help how I can. Having grown up in Southern Oregon, but coming up to Portland for college, knowing the scene up here a little bit and continuing to watch those guys now. Ben Sullivan, who I played with in college, we mentioned him on the Celtics staff.
Yeah.
And some of these guys, Donald Wilson's in Vancouver now that I played with, but there's a lot of guys that are wanting to move this city forward, and I love to see the Pro-Am back. And who won it this year?
Team Pritchard. I appreciate you asking that. Actually, do you guys have about 20 seconds?
Tell
maybe
us.
Maybe five. Just hang tight.
You gotta. I can't wait to see what Brian is bringing back here. He's got something to show. The Portland Pro-Am, Peyton Pritchard dropped 92. Oh my gosh, that's big.
Sheesh.
That's
trophy
on the ceiling there, though. But
no, you can't even fit that whole thing in the camera.
There you
and
go.
Brian can barely fit his biceps in the camera.
He works out. Curls for the girls.
The champs are here.
Congratulations on
just
that.
doing that, just moving back in the frame and showing that, he's gonna get like 10 cuffing applications.
He works out. He's big. He's strong, and he's got bounce. Follow him, Bounce by Brian on Instagram and those other social media outlets. If you're gonna walk on. We're out.